put a question up on the screen, and I'm going to ask you to pay attention to this question and think about the answer. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to type your answer in the chat window. And so here is the question. The question is, you're in front of a prospect or a group of prospects, and it's live or it's virtual. So you're on a stage or you're on Zoom like this or another meeting platform, and it's time for you to sell. It's time for you to make the pitch. It's time for you to close the deal. So here's my question to you, and I'm going to ask you to type it in the chat window. How do you feel? Well, that's the question. You're in front of the prospect or a group of prospects. It's live or virtual. It's time for you to make the sale. The question is, how do you feel? So I'm going to ask you to type it in the chat window. Faith says, summarize benefits and mention how to get them with the offer. Okay, that's how you feel. Okay, we have excited, we have delighted, anxious, curious, excited, anxious, confident, wow, energized, ready to take action. Anxious keeps coming up again. Confident, excited, and yikes comes up. Confident, nervous, anxious keeps coming up over and over again. Focused, of course, Faith, I love Faith, she's focused. That's beautiful. Humble, yes, I did it. She loves it. Somebody confident, curious, and attentive, confident, a bit apprehensive. Okay, keep going. How else do you feel? Oh, cool, right, Richard is cool, excellent. Expansive, excited and focused, butterflies, challenged, it's a little bit apprehensive, Natalie says. Somebody says empowered, more anxious, excited, and happy. So as you can see, as these keep coming up, there's a lot of positive and there's a lot of negative feelings that come up associated with selling. And so now here's the next question. Some of you feel we have fantastic and excited and anxious and a whole bunch of different ones. So here's the next question. Type into the chat window the answer to this, okay? At that moment, when you're in front of that prospect and it's time to sell, the question is, what is your biggest challenge? What is the biggest challenge you face, regardless of how you feel? If you're excited, motivated, dedicated, committed, happy, scared, anxious, whatever you're feeling, what I want to know is, what is the biggest challenge that you face in that exact moment? And let's see what we've got. Okay, hitting all my points, clearly explaining my process, setting myself apart, wow, delivering my message, staying focused on them, asking the right questions, wow, okay, talking costs, that's a big one. Connecting with the crowd, articulating my value, translating the value. Do they understand what I can do for them? Bring concise, not selling. Okay, the cost has come up a couple of times. How do you deal with that one? Delivering the right message, not saying too much. Convince them they need the product. Keep going. This is good. Listening without thinking about the next thing to say. I like that one. Way to go, Sylvia. Not to say too much. Okay, very good. Corey, that's right. They don't qualify. Ooh, man, that's one that pops up from time to time. Articulating properly my value, moving from need to want, okay, connecting the right pitch for the prospect, okay, good, relating to them on the emotional level, very good, staying focused, really listening to their needs, selling training or is like selling air. Okay, very good. Jeff says selling training is like selling air, it's like selling ether. Okay, Kathy says relating. Okay, cool. So these are all very interesting challenges when it comes to selling. And you'll notice two things. You're going to notice that we have a huge wide range of the way people feel about selling in this room. And we have a wide range of what the challenges are for people to sell in this room. So here's my third question. The third question is this. I'm going to ask you to type into this chat window. If one thing had to change for you right now regarding selling, if only one thing had to change that would elevate your skills and your ability to sell more, what is that one thing. So you're standing in front of the prospect. It's time to sell. Something needs to change for you to launch that sale off into the ether. So let's see what needs to change. Okay, a belief in my ability to sell, more sleep. Okay, pricing, more confidence, clarity on the value proposition. They need to be employed. Okay, trust from the client. Wow. Finding the right prospect. So it's prospecting for you. Excellent. More confidence, a deeper connection, more confidence, more credibility. Confidence keeps coming up. Being relatable and authentic keeps coming up. Let's see, stronger messaging, finding the right prospects. So prospecting again, confidence comes up, knowledge comes up. Pricing, it's interesting. Pricing has come up 3 or 4 times. Being clear on the purpose. We have the how to ask for the order. More confidence, again, is coming up. More authenticity is coming up. Let's see, strategy on how to respond. Strategy is a good word. Reaching out to a wider range of customers. Okay, that's more prospecting. Again, more prospecting. Preparation, Francis says. Okay, good. Releasing my anxiety around asking for money. Wow, that one's a massive one. I can relate to that one from my previous life before Jane. Pricing comes up. Belief in the results that good, excellent one, Darlene, is we have to believe that what we're selling is actually going to provide the results. Overcoming opposition. Okay, Valerie, good one. And then Susan says, have better understanding of the client's needs to give them the best value proposition. Okay, so once again, we've received an awful lot of varying answers. Now, here's the point of this. The point is that there is no one answer in order to elevate your sales if you're going to do more of what you've always done. And so I'm going to show you, well, let me ask you this question. If I could show you a way where you could substantially and drastically change the way you sell and make it easier for you to sell more without going through difficult sales pitches, without having to defend your price, without having to feel like you've got to compare with your competitors, without anxiety, without stress, without any of those things. If you could find a way to sell like that, I'm going to ask you to just type yes in the chat window. And I know that that's a silly question, but I'm still going to ask it. So somebody say, yes, please, yes, please, yes, 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 exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. Yes, a whole bunch of, okay, yes, 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 of course, of course. It's a silly question. Bring it on, says Francis. Okay, cool. All right, so here's what we're going to do. And just for a moment, I'm going to ask you to take the question off the screen, and then we're going to come back. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take you through a series of questions. I'm going to put them on the screen one at a time. And I'll explain how to answer them as we go. It'll be very, very easy. But what I'm going to ask you to do is write down your answers. They're just going to be numbers. You're going to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 with these questions. And then I'm going to ask you to write your number down for each question. And then at the end, we're going to total your numbers, and we're going to do something with that total. So that's the first thing I'm going to ask you to think about as we're going through these questions. Where each one of them, I'm going to ask you to write down the total. So make sure you've got a piece of paper, a pen, something, a crayon, something that you can write this down. And I'm killing a little time here to give you a chance to get that happening, because it's important that everybody writes these numbers down. So you want to write the number down. And that's the first thing I'm going to ask you to consider when we're going through the questions. The second thing I'm going to ask you to consider is this. While we're going through these questions, I'm going to ask you to pay attention to 1 or 2 questions that absolutely strike you the most for whatever reason. The one that makes you go, oh, that one's really me. Or, oh yeah, I relate to that one. And just sort of make note of what that one is. Okay, so let's put the questions up on the screen. Question number 1. And it looks like this. Now, if you're having trouble seeing the screen, here's what you can do. You go up to the top of the window where it says View Options and select Fit to Window. So go up to where it says View Options at the top of the screen. There's a little arrow that drops down, and you'll see an option there that says Fit to Window, and you'll be able to see the whole question. So here is the first question, and I'm going to ask you to write the number down. So I'm going to read these, and I want you to consider them. So here's the first one, okay? On the left, it says, I often struggle to explain what I do in a way that makes me stand out. Now, if that's you, if you feel like that's you, then you're going to score 1, 2, or 3, somewhere around there. Now, on the opposite end, it's the exact opposite condition, okay? I know exactly what to say that makes me appear to be completely different from my competition. And if that's you, which means people come and say, what do you do? And you know exactly what to say that makes you sound completely, profoundly different from everybody else who does what you do. If that's you, then you score yourself a 10. And if you're somewhere in the middle, you're going to score 5, 6, somewhere around there. So you should have an answer to this question, just a number, that's all. And now we're going to go through the rest of the questions and I'll read them off and I want you to think about which one of these you are. So that's question number 1. Question number 2 is this. Question number 2. I struggle to make money from a speaking opportunity beyond a speaking fee. So here's what that means. A lot of people on our call today are speakers, some of them full-time speakers. Some of you work full-time as a speaker, some of you don't. Some of you use speaking to drive clients into your business. So at whatever level you speak, if you speak, here's what this means. If you speak for a speaking fee, people pay you and you go and speak and then you go home, that's a speaking fee. And that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is, can you earn revenue? Can you monetize beyond the speaking fee? Are you selling books, training programs, consulting, seminars, memberships? Are you selling something beyond the speaking fee? So the first question is, I struggle to make money from a speaking opportunity beyond the speaking fee. And if that's you, then you score 1 or 2. And that could mean, you know, I bring a lot of stuff to the gig, but I don't sell a lot of it. Or maybe you just have nothing to sell and you don't really know. So at the other end is this. After a speaking opportunity, people rush to me to hire me or to buy my stuff. So you're finished on the platform or on the webinar or in front of the boardroom or in front of the, the prospects, and you say, thank you, you're finished your presentation, and they get up and they run to you with their credit cards in their hands. And if that's you, then you score 10. So whatever number you are, so write that number down, and let's move on to question number 3. So question number 3 is this. On the left-hand side, I have a very low profile in my marketplace. So what that means is, you have a low profile if, you're not getting a lot of referrals. People generally aren't really sure who you are. You go to networking meetings a lot and you find yourself making introductions and you're, trying to become visible because you have a low profile in your marketplace. So, and now understand this, folks. I know that there could be some ego attached to these answers. Now, nobody's going to see these answers. All we're going to do is ask you to share a total later on. Nobody's going to see these answers. And so be honest with yourself. Okay, so if you feel like, I got a low profile in my marketplace, then you're going to score low. Now, on the other end, I'm very well known as the top expert in my marketplace. This means that people know who you are and you are very well known and you are high profile in your marketplace. You are the one that everybody knows about. And if that's you, then you score high. So take your score and write that down. And let's go to number 3 or number 4. Yeah, let's go to number 4. Number 4, here we go. I often set big goals and never achieve them. Now, I know that there's some people in the room here who know exactly what I'm talking about. I often set big goals and I never achieve them. So if that's you, you score low. Now, on the other side, I often set big goals and I always achieve them. I am a big goal fiend. So I set these massive goals and I always reach those goals. And if that's you, then you're going to score high. So write that down, and then let's go to question number 5. Question number 5 is this. I find it really difficult to close a prospect on a sale. I find it really difficult to close a prospect on a sale. So this is all the stuff we just talked about. And some of you, wrote in there that you feel anxious or you feel stressed, and some of you said excited and happy. I don't want to know how you feel. What I want to know is how can you, how good are you at actually closing the sale? Okay? And if you have difficulty closing the sale, even if you love the process, then you score low. And now on the other side, I find it very easy to close most of my prospects on a sale, meaning you have a very high closing percentage. And when you go to see a prospect, you already know that the sale is made. It's just a matter of having a polite conversation and determining the payment schedule. So if that's you, you're going to close high. You're going to score high. So let's go to question number 6. Question number 6. I don't get as many referrals as I would like. So that means, it's pretty clear, you maybe get some referrals, but you're always thinking, boy, my business would be so much stronger if I could get more referrals. And if that's you, then you score low. Now, let's go to the higher side. And it says, I get so many referrals that I can pick and choose with whom I work. I mean, they are coming in out of the ether from every direction, and I'm getting more referrals than I can absolutely handle. And if that's you, then you're going to score 10 on this question. So let's go to question number 7. Question number 7. I have a hard time differentiating myself from my competition. And that means, when people come up to you and they say, what do you do? And you're kind of going, well, here's what I do. And maybe you have a very slick elevator pitch with all the flowery stuff and all the metaphors and all the imagery and all of that cool stuff that people encourage you to put into your elevator pitch. Maybe you have that, but I want you to be honest with yourself and really ask the question. Are you really differentiating yourself from your competition? Now, I'm going to talk about this for a moment because this is an important piece. A lot of people that we meet, a lot of entrepreneurs think they're differentiating themselves, but they're really not, because here's what happens. So often entrepreneurs, speakers, coaches, trainers, authors, consultants, professionals, professional service people, doctors, lawyers, accountants, financial planners, all of the entrepreneurial space, even IT. Oftentimes, I will ask people all around the world, I will say, so what is it that makes you different? And here are the answers that almost always come up. Number one is always something about experience. Well, I've been in the business for 30 years. And they position that as if it's a differentiator. So the experience, the amount of tenure, or maybe even the amount of educate. Well, I'm a PhD. Maybe even the education they'll use as a differentiator. So that's one. The next is about their service. Well, we give superior service. I take my customers personally. I spend one-on-one time with my clients. I really dig into and I care about my clients. And that always comes up. And then the third thing that people use as a differentiator is their solution. Well, we have the unique system. We have the 4 pillars of this. We have the 5 secrets and the 3 strategies, and we have the matrix, and we've got all these different things that are our solution. So people always try and compete. They compete against their experience or their tenure or their education. They compete against their level of service, and they compete against their solution. Now, if that's you, if those are the answers you're giving, then you are on the left side of this question. Okay. Now, on the other side, on the right side, my prospects see me as the only logical choice in my field. My prospects see me as totally unique. Now, I want to qualify this because once again, we can get caught up a little bit here, and I want you to answer, I want you to do some introspection on this question and think about this. The question isn't, are you unique? That's not the question. The question is, do your clients think you're unique? Do your prospects think you're unique? Does the marketplace think you're unique? And if you are convinced that the prospects and your marketplace see you as absolutely the only logical choice and you are profoundly unique, then you score high on this question. Okay, let's go to question number 8. Question number 8, I often give discounts and bonuses in order to get business. And so I want to clarify this as well. If you are giving bonuses and discounts and specials as goodwill and not because you have to, that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is when you get in a situation where you are competing with a competitor and you are feeling compelled now to give a discount, to lower your fee. I mean, when we talked about the sales question a while ago, the point about price and cost came up over and over and over again. So I know there's a lot of people on this call who are concerned about the price of your offerings. And so if that's you, then you score on this side. If you feel that your clients are not going to buy from you unless you are cheaper, then you're on this side. If you find you are always giving discounts, if you're always giving freebies, if you're always reducing, increasing your perceived value, and you're always competing on price, then you're on this side. Now let's go to the right side of question 8. I keep raising my fees and people keep paying them. So if this is you, you're raising your fees and you're full. What you couldn't take another client. So your strategy is, I'm going to raise my fees and work less hard. So you raise your fees and people keep paying them. And you raise your fees again and people keep paying them. You raise your prices, people keep buying. And so if you're in that condition, then you're scoring a 10 on question number 8. Okay, let's go to question number 9. Isn't this fun? This is so much fun. Who knew that this would be so much fun? Okay, question number 9. I often have to submit proposals that don't get accepted. Now, here's what that one means. You find yourself, you're in a consulting business or a training business, and your clients are corporates, and oftentimes you're responding to requests for proposal, and people are coming to you and they're saying, okay, looks good what you're showing me. I love what you're saying. So here's what we want you to do. We want you to submit a proposal, because, we need to compare you with 4 other sources. We need to compare you with 3 other vendors or 2 other suppliers. And that means that you are in competition with others, and it's blind competition because you don't know what they're submitting. So you find yourself spending time submitting these proposals, and you know in your heart that many of them are not going to come through. Some do, some don't. But the point is, you're competing for business based on proposals. So if that's you, then you're going to score low on question 9. Now we go to the other side of question 9. Prospects call me directly because they only want to deal with me. And so you're in a space now where, you know what, I don't need to write proposals. I don't even have to call my prospects. They call me and I go and do the work and they pay my fees. And if that's you, you score high on question number 9. Now let's go to the final question, question number 10. I am not achieving my full potential, either financially or professionally. Now, if you're on the left side of this, this means that not only are you not achieving your potential, but you are nowhere close. I mean, you are thinking, there is so much more for me. I could be doing so much better. I could play such a bigger game. I can reach so much higher than this, and it's not happening for you. Then you're scoring on the left side a low number on question number 10. Now, on the other side, I'm achieving my full potential both financially and professionally. Now, one could argue that a person will never achieve their full potential, but if you're feeling like, you know what, I mean, I'm hitting it pretty much out of the park. I mean, I am really doing well. Could I do better? Yes, of course, we could all do better. But if you're pretty happy with it and you're thinking, man, you know what, I am maximizing. I mean, I'm doing really, really well and I'm happy about it. Then you're going to score high on question number 10. Okay, cool. Let's take the questions off the screen. And here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I want you to total up your numbers. So you've got 10 numbers there. It should be easy. And I want you to total up those numbers. And I'm going to ask you to type your total in the chat window. So let's see what happens. Let's watch. Okay, wow, 67 is a good start. All right, 67, 12. So you can see there's going to be a range, 75, 35, 49, 56. Now keep watching because you're going to see that there's a range, but there's going to be a mean in here. So 19, 49, 26, 64, 45, 40, 57, 60, 25, 65, 41. Can't count. Okay, Tom, you're in bigger trouble than I can help you with. 66. 72, Wow, this is good. There's a lot of big numbers in here. I'm very impressed with this. This is very interesting. 52 and 30. Okay, not really sure. Somebody is not really sure exactly what their number is. 17, 56. So keep going and just look at these numbers as they're popping up. And what you're going to notice is this. Two things. You're going to notice that oh, Mitch took the course. That's why. You're going to notice that, first of all, there's a large range. We got everybody in here from 12 to 70 and everything in between. But if you were to scroll, and we're not going to do the math on this, but if you were to scroll on this, what you would notice is that there is a range, an average range of somewhere between, I would say, 30 and 50. So I'm scrolling up here and I'm seeing lots of fives. I'm seeing lots of fives, some twos, lots of fives, lots of fives, lots of fives. The odd six, the odd seven. Lots of fives. I'm seeing lots of fours and fives. So fours and fives. So we're looking at average 40 to 50, 35 to 50 in there, with a handful of outliers in the 70s and a handful of outliers in the lower numbers. So here's what that, in fact, I'm not even going to tell you yet what that means. We are going to come back to that. It's good. We're still getting numbers in here. Let's see what we're getting. We're still getting 50, 80. Wow. Susan's an 80. Excellent. Lee's is a 74. Very good. Linda's 60, 68. Okay. We're getting good. We're getting some numbers around 60, 70. That's excellent. So maybe our range has increased a little bit. So we're looking at a range between 40 and 60-ish, somewhere in there. Excellent. Very good. So keep your number marked down, because we're going to come back to it. It becomes relevant for us a little bit later in the conversation. Now, here's another question that I'm going to ask you to put in the chat window. The question is this. I asked you earlier, what has to change in order for you to sell more? And you gave me an answer, and there was a whole bunch of answers there. But now you have a bit of a numerical, sort of empirical-ish measure of what your strengths and weaknesses are, because all of those questions on that scorecard relate to your ability to monetize. They relate to your ability to do business and to sell. So here's the question. What has to change now? Now, maybe it's the same thing that had to change before in our last question, but now that you've done this questionnaire, you've done this scorecard, I asked you to pay attention to one or two questions that sort of hit you harder than the others, or one or two questions that you relate more to the others. So my question now is, what has to change now? Has anything changed? I mean, so if there's one thing that needs to improve right now so that your scorecard can move across to the right-hand side so that you could score better, one major thing that has to change, I'm going to ask you to type that into the chat window, and let's see what kind of answers come up now. And it could be the same thing that would have had to change before. Okay, so let's see. Adapting life to lockdown, yeah. Differentiator, promoting myself more training, differentiating myself, my process and my confidence, up my speaker fee, nice, okay. Evaluate guests, what sells part of others, become better, promoting myself, more qualifying, promoting myself, better prospecting, more coaching, standing out, promoting myself, differentiation, same, relaxing. Okay, same things before. Promoting, look at, see the way promoting myself is coming up over and over again. Okay, clarity, attitude, get more education, my financial resources, differentiate more, beautiful, self-image, clarity on how to share my value, finish a couple of my product creation items. Okay, confidence as a speaker. Keep reading these because these are really good. The guts to reach out more, the guts to reach out more. Okay, speaking goals around my marketing strategy. Speaking is coming up over and over again. This is good. Differentiate is coming up again over and over. That's good. Okay, so thank you very much for playing the game. And so here's what I've noticed in there is there's a lot of I missed the questions. Okay, there's a lot of these in the answers. There's a lot of I need to prospect more. I need more marketing. I need to position more. I need to, get more confidence. All of those things come up, and those are all good things. They're very good things. Now, here's the truth about this. In order for you to sell more and to sell more easier, what absolutely has to happen is not more marketing. What has to happen is not more prospecting. It's not more visibility. Positioning is close. Positioning is very, very, very close. In fact, we're going to talk about that. So if you said positioning, depending on what you meant by that, that is very close. But 90% of those answers that you typed in there are not the answers that are going to position you to sell more. So I want to introduce a concept to you, and I'm going to introduce the concept here, and then we're going to explain it a little bit later in the day. So I want to tell you a story. Some of you in this room, a small handful of you maybe, might remember an event called Your Stage. If you remember an event called Your Stage that I used to run here in Ottawa, I'm just going to ask you to type the yes in the chat window. I just want to see if we have any Your Stagers here. We have a couple, a handful. Oh, good. There's quite a few. So I want to tell you a story about Your Stage. Your Stage was an event that I held here in Ottawa every month for about 5 years. And it was reasonably successful. We held this event, and every month we would have, 50 to 70 people, and we built it up to that. And we never were really able to monetize it, but we loved doing it. I had a partner with me. His name was Bob Karskadden. He and I ran this event together, and we absolutely loved doing it. But we tried everything we could think of to think bigger. We tried everything to reach, another level. We wanted 200-300 people at Your Stage, but we just couldn't get it. And we tried everything. And in retrospect now, I can see where I fell into what I call the thinking big delusion. So let me tell you what happened. And as I'm explaining this, I want you to be thinking about this. What is the delusion in this scenario? Here's the scenario. I'm running this event. I've got it for, it's about 5 years it's happening. I'm getting 50 to 70 people every single month. People love it. It's kind of the talk of the town. In fact, my name gets attached to it. I'm known as the Your Stage guy, and that's it. And so we have this thing, I'd have it every month. And I tried everything. I tried investing in it. I tried promoting it. I tried developing a better website. I tried more social media presence. I tried everything I could think of to get that number up, and I couldn't get the number up. Then something happened. The Ottawa Chamber of Commerce, which is a big chamber of commerce for this area. For those of you who don't know Ottawa, Ottawa is a town of about 1 million people, and the Ottawa Chamber of Commerce is a reasonably good size for a town of that size. So it's several hundred members in the Ottawa Chamber of Commerce. So here's what happened. I found out that the Ottawa Chamber of Commerce was holding their monthly meeting on a specific month on the same day as Your Stage and at the same place as Your Stage. And so I had an idea, because you see, Your Stage started at 9 a.m. and went till noon, but the Chamber of Commerce started at 7 a.m. and went till 9. So I had a beautiful idea. This was it. I was thinking big. And so I went to the Chamber of Commerce people and I said, hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we invite the entire Chamber of Commerce to come and join us at Your Stage right after the meeting ends? So your meeting starts at 7, it ends at 9. My meeting starts at 9. It's right next door. It's right there. Why don't we invite the entire Chamber of Commerce to come on over and see the mighty Your Stage, experience Your Stage, and then what'll happen is we'll be able to sort of cross-pollinate, and everybody will get extra value and all of that. So the lady who ran the Chamber of Commerce loved the idea. So she said, we're going to send it out to everybody. So she sent it out to everybody on the Chamber of Commerce list. Everybody, you're invited as Steve Lowell's guest to come to Your Stage right after we're done the Chamber of Commerce meeting. And in fact, she even invited me to speak at that breakfast meeting and remind people, hey, listen, come on over and see Your Stage right after, because it's there and we'd love to join it. And so I also informed all the Your Stage audience, hey guys, guess what? We've got the entire Chamber of Commerce coming, where there's going to be more networking, more connections, more value, more camaraderie, more energy, more everything. And I was crazy excited about it. So here's what happened. I put a bunch of volunteers in place to run Your Stage that morning. And I set the room up. In my mind, I anticipated about maybe 200 people. And so I set the room up for 200 people. I bought breakfast for 200 people. Now, I know the Chamber of Commerce already had breakfast, but I thought I could entice them with more food, right? So I bought breakfast, toast and coffee and all that kind of stuff for 200 people. I rented extra sound equipment for 200 people. I got a bigger stage for 200 people. And I went all out for 200 people. And so I put some volunteers in place to manage people coming in from your stage. So these folks came in from your stage, and I'm in the Chamber of Commerce meeting. So in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, I can see it. Your stage is filling up. It's filling up. And I'm in the Chamber of Commerce meeting, and I invite everybody. Hey, everybody, don't forget, come on over to your stage. And so here's what happened. I left the Chamber of Commerce meeting at about 5 to 9 to go over to my Your Stage event to greet my guests and prepare for the onslaught of the Chamber of Commerce people. And I open the door into your stage, and I look around this room, and never before in the history of the event had we had this many people show up. I look around the room, and there were 8. There were 8 people in the room. I have no idea why there were only 8, but here's what happened. The Chamber of Commerce people came out of their meeting. They flooded into the Your Stage event. They opened the door and they looked inside. They saw the 8 lonely people in a room set for 200, and guess what they did? They turned around and they walked away. And maybe 3 of them stayed. And I guarantee you we had less than a dozen people in that room that day. And I know that some of you on this call right now, at least one person on this call was there that day. And my friend and mentor Anil Agrawal is on the call today. He was there that day. And in fact, I decided that day that I was going to close down Your Stage. I was absolutely heartbroken. And it was my friend Anil that came to me and said to me, Steve, do not do that. Oh, Jacqueline Richards was also there. And Anil came to me and said, you know, keep going, keep going, keep going. Now, I want to ask you this question. What was the delusion? I fell into what I call the thinking big delusion. And I'll tell you, that wasn't the first time, and it wasn't the last time. I ran into the thinking big delusion many, many times. And I didn't realize until much later what the thinking big delusion is. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I just want to take about 30 seconds, and I want you to type into the chat window, what exactly is the thinking big delusion? And just write it down. And let's see what we come up with. We've got about less than a minute left before we move on to a guest speaker. Okay, let's see. Just what do you think the delusion was? What was the delusion? I'm just going to take a look at something here. Let you give that a chance to get your answers written there. And let's see what you've got. Okay, here they come. Here they come. Thinking that you're amazing. Okay, what was that one? Thinking that you're amazing and reality sets in. Oh yeah, that was definitely a tough one. Too much in your head. Beautiful, Brett. I like that one. Believe that everybody wants what you have to sell. Yep. If you do amazing promoting, marketing, people will come by. Well, that is definitely sometimes a delusion for sure. If I produce it, they will come. Yeah, build it and they will come, that kind of thing. Okay, here's the thing, folks. I'm going to let you sit with those. We're going to come back a little bit later in the program, and I'm going to explain to you exactly what the thinking big delusion is, and I'm going to show you what you do about it. Back in our early part of our day, we were talking about the thinking big delusion. And I told you a story about Your Stage, my event Your Stage, and the Chamber of Commerce. And we've had a number of people join since then. And so here's what I'm going to do. I want to tell you this story that represents the thinking big delusion. Then we're going to find out what you think the thinking big delusion is. And then I'm going to do the reveal, and I'm going to show you what it takes to get past the thinking big delusion. So I'll tell you this story. I don't know if you've ever had this experience where you get the world's greatest idea at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're sleeping, you're in a dead sleep, and all of a sudden, boom, you wake up and you've got this awesome idea. And it's the best idea. It's earth-shattering, and it's life-changing, and it's jaw-dropping, and it's all of that. And it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and you bolt out of bed, and you go, there it is. I got the idea. So what do you do when you get that idea? I know you know what to do. So here's what we're going to do. Type it in the chat window. You wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, you get the big idea, the huge idea, and it goes, wow, there it is. And it's going to change your life. And it's going to change your world. What do you do? 2 o'clock in the morning, what do? You write it down. You jot it down. You write it down. Everybody knows what to do. You write it down. And you put it on your computer. You put it on your iPad. Everybody knows you write it down. But guess what? You're wrong. No, you don't write write it down. You go back to sleep. That's what you do. You know why? Because it's such a good idea that there's no way you're ever going to forget about it. It's such a life-changing, jaw-dropping, earth-shattering idea. It's going to change the whole trajectory of your life. So there is no way you're going to forget about it. So you go back to sleep because you know in the morning you're going to wake up with a fresh mind and it's going to come to you. Of course, that's the way it always happens, isn't it? No, it's not. So here's what happened. On that day, when I got up at 2 in the morning with this amazing idea, I actually went to work. So let me tell you about the idea. I was working with a bunch of people all over the world in a network marketing organization. And I had this thought because we were training network marketers from other organizations. So we would go to other network marketing organizations and we would train those folks. Just give me 1 second. Can we put get the timer on for me? Thanks so much. We would train people in other network marketing organizations to help them become better network marketers. So I had this idea and I called it the MLM, which is multi-level marketing, the MLM Executive Roundtable. And this was my thought, because you see, this was about 2003 and video conferencing had just started to come out. Not everybody had it. The organization that I was working with, we were using a very rudimentary video conferencing application, but it was cool. And so we could do this kind of training. And this is what we were doing. So I thought, I'm going to have the MLM Executive Roundtable, and this is what's going to happen. It's going to be a monthly thing, and I'm going to get network marketers from all over the world, and we're going to converge into this community, into this online community, and I'm going to teach selling skills, and I'm going to teach presentation skills, and I'm going to teach networking skills, I'm going to teach network marketing skills, I'm going to do all of those things. And what I was going to do is I'm going to charge people $100 a month to be part of this magnificent project, and they don't even have to leave their network marketing companies because they're coming in to learn and they can share and grow a network. So I had this beautiful idea and it was going to change my life. It was going to change the lives of thousands of people in the network marketing business. And I was going to charge $100 a month and I was going to make a fortune. And I was so excited. So I went to work. And fortunately, I have some technical skills. So this was 2 in the morning. And by 8 o'clock in the morning, I was in business. I had the domain registered. I had the website created. I had the landing page created. I had all of the stuff where they could pay through PayPal created. I had a schedule made. I had emails written. I was totally in business and I was good to go. And I had it in my mind that in the first month, I was going to get 100 people into the MLM Executive Roundtable, and that was going to be my launch. And so, I mean, I was so excited. So I got on the phone with a colleague of mine, a buddy of mine who was in Costa Rica. His name was Bob. So I get on the phone and it's about 8:30 in the morning and I'm on the phone with Bob. And I said, Bob, I am so excited, man. I got the best idea in the world. It's going to change my life. It's going to change the life of thousands of network marketers. It's a jaw-dropping, earth-shattering, life-changing idea. It's awesome. And he said, well, what's your idea, Steve? And I said, Bob, it's called the MLM Executive Roundtable. It's going to be online. We're going to use that conferencing system that we use. We're going to get thousands of people to come in here. We're going to charge them $100 a month. We're going to teach them networking. We're going to teach them speaking. We're going to teach them network marketing skills. We're going to teach them presentation skills. We're going to teach them sales, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to change everybody's life. And then Bob said 2 words that will suck the life out of any dream. He said, yeah, but. He said, yeah, but how are you going to get people to join? And I said, well, Bob, I said, that's a no-brainer. I said, they're going to see the agenda. They're going to see the software. They're going to see the price. They're going to see, all the different training sessions we're going to do. It's going to be an absolute no-brainer. And he said, yeah, but Steve, he said, where are you going to find all these people? I mean, how are you going to find them and how are you going to get them into get them to buy in? But I was ready for him because I had thought about this since 2 in the morning. And I said, Bob, I'm way ahead of you, Bob. I'm going to use the law of attraction. I'm going to vibrate, Bob, because when you vibrate at the frequency of the universe conspires to bring all the resources you need, brings them all together, and hands you your dream. So I started vibrating like this. I started vibrating. And of course, it took 1 month. A single month. That's all it took for me to absolutely get 0 signups. None. I never got a single signup. So I did a lot of things wrong in that for the MLM Executive Roundtable. I fell victim to what I call the thinking big delusion. Now, earlier, I asked you, what is the delusion? What do you think the delusion really is? And I got a lot of good answers. Things like, I didn't know my audience. I didn't do enough marketing. Things like I was relying on just thought alone and not action. All of those things are true. Got a lot of really good ideas about what the thinking big delusion is. But those are not the delusion. Those are mistakes. That's a fact. But they are not the delusion. Here's the delusion. The thinking big delusion is this. The thinking big delusion is believing that my marketplace saw me as big as I saw me. So let me repeat that, then I'll show you what I mean. The delusion is believing that my marketplace saw me as big as I saw me. So if I just sort of map that out a bit, it kind of looks like this. Let me just move there. It kind of looks like this. This is me, and I'm part of my marketplace. And so there's me, and I'm part of my marketplace. And what happens to me is I'm sort of operating at a level that my marketplace operates at. And so for my Your Stage event, I was getting 50 people in the room, and that's about the level that they saw me playing. And so my marketplace kind of sees me at the level that I'm operating at. But then here's what happens. I choose the big idea. I get my big idea. This is the thinking big. So my vision goes to the big idea. But the problem is that my marketplace, they see me over here. This is where they see Steve. And so I'm sorry, can you just check the timer for me? Because it seems to have kind of thrown off. Yeah, thanks. Is that what we got? No. No. We're still ironing out some glitches here. I want you to pay attention to some of this discussion that we have, because this is a great learning experience for some of you. If you're planning on going online with some of these things, I have to tell you, it is hugely fun. We're having so much fun, but we're learning so much in the process. So we're going to have these little chats as we go to iron things out. And I want to do that in front of you because I want you to see some of the challenges that we face so that when you start doing this, you can be better at it as a result. Okay, so here's what we got. Here's me and my marketplace, and there's this trajectory. So we operate at the same level as our marketplace sees us. So when I plan my events and I say, I'm going to have 50 people at it or 75 people, that's about in line with how my marketplace sees me. But then when I say, you know what, I want 500 people at my event, I want 1,000 people at my event. And when I said, I got a brand new idea, it's going to make me millions of dollars, I'm thinking way up here. I got the big idea. And this gap right here, that is the thinking big delusion. That's the delusion, because I think that because I think bigger, my marketplace is going to see me bigger. And it doesn't happen that way. That's why if you are thinking about things like, I have to market more, I need more on social media, I need a bigger presence, I need more websites, I need, a bigger LinkedIn profile, I need to network more, I need more connections, I need more prospects. All of that is important. Yes, you got to do all those things, but that is not what's going to get you into the bigger game. And thinking alone is not going to do it. The whole law of attraction thing is powerful. It is important, and it is a big part of what we do, but it has to be accompanied with what I call the deep thought strategy. The deep thought strategy is what bridges this gap right here. The deep thought strategy right there is what eliminates the thinking big delusion. So here's what happened to me. Instead of learning how to market more and learning how to prospect more and looking for more referrals and doing more networking and getting on LinkedIn and updating my LinkedIn profile and updating my website and doing more webinars and doing more seminars and writing another book, all of that I did. It's all important. I'm not saying don't do that. But if you do that, all you're really doing without a deep thought strategy, all you're really doing is yelling louder. That's all you're doing. You're taking what you currently say, what you currently do, what you currently are, and making it louder. And hopefully you're saying that I can play a bigger game if I just make more noise. But it doesn't work that way, because what happens is our marketplace sees us here. And just because we see ourselves up here, that creates this big gap. That's the delusion. So let me show you how this works. Okay. Now, some of you on this call, anybody who's in the WEN global community and people who know me for a while, a lot of you have seen this before, maybe in a different context. But I'll tell you something, this is the foundation of what we call the deep thought strategy. And so this is what I want you to pay attention to. Now, I'm actually going to do a little test here. So get ready on your chat, those of you who know me, and let's see what happens on the chat, because I'm going to test some of you, okay? So this thing here, I call this my Repumeter. Now, some of you have seen this 100 times. Some of you have never seen it, and that's okay. Now, here's my challenge to you. So those of you who have seen this 100 times, I'm going to present it to you in a little different perspective, but here's the challenge to you. If you have seen this before, and you're still in the same place today as you were back then something has to change for you, and this is your opportunity. So here's the Repumeter here. Now, the Repumeter measures the state of your reputation, but from a very specific perspective. Within the context of this discussion, the Repumeter measures how your audiences or how your marketplace responds to you. You see, it really shows, and when you see it, it'll make sense, but the Repumeter really shows what your marketplace thinks about you. But you know, you can't get a good idea of that by asking them. Because if you go to your marketplace, the people who have bought from you, and you ask them, what do they think of you? They'll say, well, you're awesome, man. And if you ask your friends, well, we think you're great. And if you go to social media, they're going to say really nice things about you. They will comment on your stuff. They will talk really nicely about you, and they'll link to you and all of those things. But you know what they're not doing is, if they're not buying from you and if they're not hiring you, that's the indicator of what they think about you. That's the indicator of where they think you play. So it looks like this. There are 4 milestones on the Repumeter, and I'm going to go to the iPad because I know some of you know who those things are. So who's going to type it out? I know, what is the first milestone on the Repumeter? And I know that some of you know what that is. So just type the word. It is obscurity. Thank you. Who typed that? That is Christine. Okay, so obscurity. Now, what does obscurity mean? Who knows that? What does obscurity mean? Let's see. What have we got out there? Who knows? Who can tell me what obscurity means? What is the definition of obscurity? And I'll just do this for a second. No one knows you. Who said? Kathy Pendleton knows it. And Susan Ebbs, invisible, kind of the same thing. So obscurity means that nobody really knows who you are. Nobody knows what you do. Now, you know you're in obscurity when these things are happening, when you're not getting referrals, when, business doesn't come to you easily, when you have to struggle to close the sale. You know you're in obscurity when you are always working, trying to get noticed, trying to get visible. And you feel like, my marketplace, I don't have a profile in my marketplace. Nobody really knows who I am. And you go to networking events, and you go to meetings like this, and you go to other things, and your purpose is to get seen and to get noticed. And that's what happens at obscurity. And at obscurity, you know you're there because the results will tell you you're there, because people are not buying from you unless you go and actively pursue that sale. Now, you will make some sales, you will generate some business, people will hire you, but it takes an enormous amount of effort on your part in order to make that happen. So that's obscurity. Now, the next stage is what? Who's going to share the next stage on the Repumeter? Yes. Oh, good. Excellent. Cool says competitive. The next stage on the Repumeter is competitive. Now, competitive means that people know who you are and they know what you do, but there's nothing that separates you from everybody else who does what you do. And so you become one of a category of many. Now, you know you're in competitive when these things are happening. You know you're in competitive when you are constantly filling out proposals, RFPs. You know you're in competitive when you're always reducing your price, you're giving bonuses, you're throwing in freebies. You know you're in competitive when you're not really sure how to differentiate yourself. People ask you what you do, and you talk about things like, well, I've been in the business a long time, I've got a certain type of credentials, I give a certain level of service, I've got a unique solution, I have the 4 pillars to that, my 5 secrets to this, and you're competing against your history, your service, and your solution. That means you're in competitive. But at competitive, this is how your marketplace is responding to you. They're responding to you in that you're getting some referrals, and people are going to buy from you. They're going to hire you, but only after they compare you to your competitors. So they will come and they will say, give me your best price. Come on, give me your best offer. And now I'm going to take that best offer. I'm going to shop it around, and I'm going to see who has the best deal. And that's the deal I'm going to get. So your marketplace is making decisions based on the deal they get, not based on the fact that you are the person that delivers it. And so if those things are happening to you, then you know you're at the competitive stage. Then there's this other stage up here in the middle, right here. And who knows what that stage is? Let's go back to the iPad. I know some of you have already, look at that. You're typed it out way ahead of us. Yeah, a whole bunch of you got that. Of course, it's branded. Now the branded stage, according to your marketplace, this is what happens. Your branded stage means that people know who you are, they know what you do in your marketplace, and there's something a little bit different about you, and they might check you out. But here's what happens at branded. They've heard some stuff, they've read some stuff, they've seen maybe some videos, read some of your blog posts, they've been exposed to you somehow, and they're thinking, maybe I'll check that one out. And when they come and check you out, you are on probation and you don't even know it, because what they're doing is they're coming to you and they're saying, okay, I've heard about you. This all sounds really good. Show me what you've got. And what they're doing is they are evaluating your existence against their perception of your existence. And what they're doing is they are measuring this trajectory for you. They're getting on to you and they're talking to you, checking you out. And what they're doing is they're positioning you here. Where does this person play? I'm in this person's marketplace. Does this person play way down here at the elementary beginner level? Do they play here at a level that is congruent with where I operate? Or do they play up here at a much higher level? And they're making that distinction with you instantaneously. And they're going to evaluate you based on things like their reputation on the results that you provide, the type of experience you provide that people talk about, and they're going to evaluate you on one other thing, which I'm going to explain soon. So, do you remember, those of you who were here at the beginning, I talked about the Chamber of Commerce story, where I had my event called Your Stage in one room. Chamber of Commerce was in the other room. And what I did was I invited all of the Chamber of Commerce to come and join me at Your Stage. Do you remember this story? And then the Chamber of Commerce people all came over to Your Stage. They looked in the room and there were only 8 people in the room. So what did they do? They turned around and walked away. Here's what happened. This is where the thinking big delusion defeated me. So I'll go backwards and explain what happened with that. So here's what happened. I had the big idea. Let me draw a new one so that it's a little cleaner for you. So I had the big idea. I'm going to combine Your Stage with the Chamber of Commerce. So this is me, and this is my marketplace. Now, in this instance, that marketplace represents the Ottawa Chamber of Commerce. For years, I operated at about this level. This would be the Your Stage level. My event was there. So people in my world perceived my level of success, my level of importance, my business stature. They perceived me at the level that they witnessed at my Your Stage event. Okay, you got it? And that's my fault. That's on me. I held the event a specific way. I did specific things. And what I said to the world is, this is how I play. But then I got this massive idea. I said, I'm going to play way bigger. I'm going to get the entire Chamber of Commerce to come to my meeting. So here was the thinking big delusion. The thinking big delusion is, in my mind, I'm thinking because I'm offering a big idea that my marketplace is going to see me at that level. But they didn't. My marketplace saw me at this level. And I'll give you an example of what that demonstrates that. At that time, there was a lady in town here who used to do events, a lot of events. She was quite successful. She would get 400 or 500 people at her events, and we were friends. So I asked her one time, I said to her, why have you never been to Your Stage event? And her answer stung. Her answer was, Steve, I can't be seen at a tiny local meetup event because that's not the level at which I play. Now, I thought that was rude, I was insulted, and I was hurt. But the fact is, she was right, because her marketplace saw her up here. And if she attached herself to this, then what happens is it could pull her down because it puts her in this trajectory here. So here's what happened at the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce people, when I invited them to come to the event, they saw me here at Branded. They came to me, they heard about me, right? So I went to their meeting before the Your Stage event, and I said, hey, member, come to my event. And they had heard the great things about me. They'd heard great things about my event and all of those things. So for them, I'm at Branded in their head, and they're thinking, I wonder if he plays up at this high level here. So what happened was they came and they looked in the door. And remember, at the Branded stage, they are going to evaluate you, right? You are on trial and you don't even know it. I didn't know it. So they come and say, okay, is what we've seen and what we've heard real? So they come and they look in the door to evaluate the reality of their expectations. And instead of seeing 200 people in the room, they saw 8 people in the room. So then what happened was, their expectation of me dropped to here. And so for me to do more advertising, to do more marketing, to do more of everything I was always doing, can you see where all I would be doing is saying, hey world, look at me, this is where I play. And I'd just be saying it louder and louder and louder. And that's why we need what I call the deep thought strategy. So here's what the deep thought strategy is. You see, what I should have done in order to get people to come to those events is I should have first taken some steps to position myself in their mind, in the mind of my marketplace. I should have taken some steps to position myself as what I call T1, the one, the only logical choice. I didn't know this at the time. So all I was doing was saying, world, come and see me. And when my experience or when their experience didn't match their expectations, it brought me all the way back down to here. Now, I want to talk about this for a second. I'm going to come and explain what the deep thought strategy is. But do you remember earlier today, you went through those 10 questions, and some of you mentioned on the text that that was a very valuable part for you. And you have a score. You have a score that you gave yourself from those 10 questions. And here's what we've found, that the Branded stage right here, if you are at a score of, let's 60, that puts you at about the Branded stage. If you're at a score between 40 and 50, that typically puts you here. And if you're at a score under 40 in the 30s and 20s, then chances are you're somewhere here. And this is the problem. Because if you want to operate a bigger game, if you want to elevate your sales potential, if you want to elevate your income, if you want to have a bigger impact in this world, if you want to have more influence, if you want to play a bigger game, I'm not talking a little bit bigger game, I'm talking a much bigger game. If that's you, you have to find a way to get over here to this spot called the one, where you are the only logical choice. That is called the deep thought strategy. Now, there's something that gets you here. What is the thing that gets you there? And those of you who have been part of the programs, you know what it is. Type it in the chat window. There's something in the middle. What is it called? What is it called? Expert Insights. Thank you, Jackie. Expert Insights. It's so great having some fans and members in the room. Your expert insights. Now, here's what your expert insights are. Your expert insights are, it's a body of wisdom or knowledge that comes from within you that only you can claim ownership of. And it's an idea that you find deep within your wisdom, your experience, your creativity, your smarts and your trading, all of these things. You dig, 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 dig. This is why it's called a deep thought strategy, because you need to find this piece called your expert insights. Now, your expert insights is it's a body of wisdom or knowledge that comes from within you that only you can take ownership of it. And it does 4 things. And here are the 4 things it does. These are the 4 things that absolutely have to happen if you're going to take your answers to those 10 questions and move them off the scale and move them all up towards 10. If you want to do that, this is what absolutely has to happen, these 4 things. And if you only do 3, it's not going to work. You need all 4. And here's the first one. Number 1 is whether you're in front of a single prospect or a group of prospects, whether it's online or on a live stage, this is what absolutely has to happen. Number 1 is you need to bring their awareness to a problem, but not just any problem, a problem that they never even knew they had. That's the key. And that's where deep thought strategy comes in. I'm going to show you how you can start taking your first steps towards the deep thought strategy. But what you need to find is a problem they never, ever even knew they had, and have them go, huh, I've never heard it like that before. That's interesting. That's what you're trying to change in the minds of your audience. So that's number 1. Bring their awareness to a problem they never even knew they had. Number 2 is you need to help them understand that there is a significant cost to having that problem. And it may not always be money. It's not, sometimes it is, but it's not always about money. So the cost could be opportunity cost. Look what you're losing. Look what you're missing out on. You could be getting more referrals. You could be making more sales. You could have a greater impact. You could be more dominant in your marketplace. And so you have to bring their awareness to the cost. The third component of your expert insights is you have to help them understand what the cause of the problem is. Here's why this is happening to you. And I've done that with you today already. Some of you have already said that your number is in the 30s or below. And then I said, what needs to happen for you to increase that? And you said, more marketing, more exposure, more contacts, more prospects, better belief systems. All those things are true. They are true, but those are not the reason why you're in the wrong spot. That's not the reason. The reason is because you don't have this. You do not have your expert insights. Your market is not seeing you where you see yourself. Your market is seeing you where you're already playing. So when you do more marketing and more shouting, all you're doing is say, look, world, I'm still here. I'm louder, but I'm still here. I'm at this spot. You need to get up there, and you need to change their minds about how they see you. So this is where it starts. So I said there were 4. These are 3. 1, present or bring their awareness to a problem they never knew they had. 2, help them become present to the cost of having the problem. And 3, help them understand that there is a cause. There's an actual reason why this is happening. And here's number 4. And this is mission critical. They're all mission critical. But here's number 4, is you position yourself as the only logical solution, the only one. There's only one, and it has to be you. Now, that's what expert insights are. So let me show you what I've done with you. I have done all of these things with you. I brought your awareness to a problem you didn't know you had. If you're new on this call, you have never seen this before. And if you have seen this before, some of you got a new awareness today. So here's what I want to do. I want to do a quick check. If you have seen this, if you're part of the community, if you've been part of my training, if you've seen this before, I'm going to ask you just to go to the chat window. And yes or no, here's my question. Did you see a different, valuable perspective today? And if you didn't, just remain passive. But if you did, I'd like you to type yes from the people who know this. Okay, and now look, see all the yeses. If you look at it, all of these people have heard this before, and yet they're getting a new perspective of this. This is the power of having expert insights, because it can change, you can give people completely change their perspective. But here's what I've done to you. If you have not seen this before, I brought your awareness to a problem you never knew you had. What's the problem you didn't know you had? I'm in the wrong spot. I gave you the questions and I let you answer the questions and I challenged you in the questions and I showed you this. And now already by noon, you're going, I got a problem. I'm in the wrong spot. I need to be over there and I'm over here. And it's validated by numbers. It's not even a question. It's been empirically validated by you and your assessment. So I brought your awareness to a problem you never knew you had. Number two, I brought your awareness to the cost of having that problem. How do I do that? In those 10 questions. Okay. Are you always writing proposals, wasting your time? Are you not getting enough referrals? Are you, dormant in your marketplace? The questions themselves revealed the cost. So you know what the cost is associated for you for being in the wrong spot. Then I said to you, what is the one thing that has to change in order for you to raise your score? And you kept telling me all the things that have to change. I definitely brought your awareness that there is a cost associated with this. Then the third piece of expert insights is, what's the cause? You know what the cause is? The cause is you do not have this. You do not have your expert insights. That's why you're on a low level. That's why you're stuck in the wrong place. That's why you're not getting referrals. That's why you're having a hard time closing sales. That's why all of these things are happening to you. So those are the first three things. Brought your awareness to a problem you never knew you had. Number two is I showed you the cost of having the problem. Number three is I represented the cause. And here's the fourth. Just answer this question to yourself. Where do you think the only place in the world is that you can go and find expert insights? Do you think you can get it at Walmart? Do you think you can get it in Business News magazine? No, there's only one place on the planet that you can get it, and that's me. So I positioned myself as the only logical choice to solve the problem that you never even knew you had. Now, here's what I want to do. I know that some of you are thinking about, Steve, how do I do this? How do I take this to the next level? So here's what I want to do. I'm going to ask you to put this up on the screen. Here's what we offer for specific people. We offer something called a 30-minute deep thought reality check session. This is our gift. But here's the thing. It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. And let me tell you how we do this, okay? If you are a forward-thinking business person, if you have a successful business, if you are absolutely dead serious about investing in yourself to move forward to play a much, much, much bigger game, then the 30-minute deep thought strategy reality check is for you. This is not a sales call. This is where we go through that checklist. You meet with Jane for 30 minutes. There is no cost. We go through that scorecard one by one, and Jane helps you get clarity around each of those 10 pieces. And then you'll have a much better idea of where you really stand and what needs to happen in order for you to start moving those numbers higher. Now, here's who's not ready for the 30-minute deep thought strategy reality check, okay? If now is not the right time for you to move forward, if you're you're in a position where you're thinking, you know what, this is something I should look at next month, next year, in a couple of years, I'm not quite ready for this yet, then that's a good realization. You're not ready for the deep thought strategy reality check, because what'll happen is you're going to do it now, and then 6 months from now, your conditions is going to change, and then this half-hour call will have been, minimal value to you. It's for people who are ready. There is no cost for this. This is our gift, but it's important that you take advantage of this opportunity. You're forward thinking. You've got some success in your business. You are absolutely dead serious about looking forward and possibly investing in your growth now. And if that's you, then use this link, meetthelowells.com. You'll book an appointment with Jane. She'll chat with you on the phone. She'll set up the call. It's a 30-minute deep thought strategy reality check, and it's our gift to you. Now, just before we break for lunch, will you take the slide down? Thank you so very much. Just before we break for lunch, here's what I want to do. I've got about a half a minute left. And so we've already had a lot of people message Jane and Amanda about the WEN Global Experience and the WEN Global Membership. How do we get involved? So the way you get involved is exactly the same. If you use that link, meetthelowells.com, you'll meet with Jane. And when you get on that call, you just tell her, I want to talk about the WEN Global Membership. Because I'll tell you, the WEN Global Membership, we're not going to go through all the details here, but what I can tell you is that it is tremendously valuable to you, because you get to come to every one of these sessions, and every one of them has some of this content in it, but we get guest speakers and we have other content and we help you grow. You have access to me. You have access to Jane. You have access to our online courses. You have access to live events that we do. You have access to coming to legend events like Brian Tracy, who we have today, and we'll have him live, hopefully, you know, the next time we do the live session. We've got Jack Canfield ready to come and speak with us. Jane is getting on the stage with Deepak Chopra. I'm working on getting on the stage with Grant Cardone and Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. These are colleagues now that we work with, and we bring these people in and give you a chance to get on the stage with them and give you a chance to get into a program with them if you choose. So consider WEN Global membership, talk to Jane, and if not, if that's not for you, that's okay. That's just fine, but definitely book that strategy call, that reality check call, if you are one of those who qualifies. So here's what we're gonna do, ladies and gentlemen. It is noon.